Good afternoon, everybody. Very much appreciate your time to join us on this really important interview. I'm speaking to a good friend of mine, Darren Bergwerf, who is a House of Representatives candidate. Good afternoon, Darren. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Derek. How are you?
Good. Darren, you've been willing to share some information which you've already put onto the internet already, but we're just going to try and put some finer points to what has happened, because this is the most important thing that has happened this year. So can we ask you a couple of questions, and we'll get this information out to the public as soon as we can?
Yeah, no problem. Go ahead.
All right. So I'm introducing Darren Bergwerf, who is standing up for the House of Representatives with 9 candidates. He's standing as an independent, and the House of Representatives seat is called the seat of Dunkley in Melbourne Southeast. And this is for the 2022 fake fraudulent federal election. We're going to explain what that means in just a second. So, Darren, let's start by you went to a polling booth in your area or electorate Monday afternoon. Can you just get us started? What happened there? When you went inside?
We just went inside and spoke to the polling booth manager and asked to see a copy of the writ for this federal election, and she couldn't present that to us.
Okay, so I see in your record of your notes and your transcript that you gave me that you requested, pursuant to Section 12, the issuing of a writ for the Senate in the Constitution. Who was that from that you actually did? Can we just make sure we got that right?
Yeah, that was from the polling booth manager, and also we went to the AEC divisional branch in Frankston Gardens Drive in Carrum Downs and spoke to Harry Papadopoulos, who's a division returning officer of the Australian Electoral Commission.
Okay, now the big question a lot of people are asking, did he give you the writ?
No.
Okay, now you seem to be over this subject now. Can you tell me a bit more about this writ for people listening? What is this all about?
Well, Derek, I don't make the rules, but the rules are long-standing. In fact, from 123 years ago, in 1900 to be exact, that this is what our Constitution says. And for the election of senators, a governor of state may or must issue the writ for the election of senators of the state.
All right, Darren. You've been down this path and you seem to have a handle. Who is duty bound to issue the writ in Victoria for this federal election?
Well, that should be the Governor of Victoria, which is Linda Dessau, and she hasn't issued that writ. Okay,
so Linda Dessau is supposed to have issued the writ for the election of senators for Victoria to represent us in the federal parliament at the Senate. Is that right, Darren?
Yes.
And you can't find it anywhere?
No, I can't find it anywhere, correct.
So Harry Papadopoulos has not been able to give it to you, and he is the division returning officer, you said?
Yep, correct.
Okay, so do you know who his boss is by any chance?
I think it's Tom Rogers.
Yep.
Or it's Nye Coffey, the Victorian manager, and then Tom Rogers obviously sits above him. Okay,
so none of these people, they've got your request, you put it in there, you can't get anything from any of these people?
No, and they've had that request verbally and via email for near on 48 hours, and we've had a response saying that they're looking into it. But to me, you should be able to just download it straight off the AEC website. It should be there for everyone to see, and they can't seem to find it or give it to us.
Well, Darren, if there's no writ, and I just said at the beginning of this interview that you're standing for the House of Reps in Frankston, which is the seat of Dunkley, where does this leave you as a candidate?
Well, it's not just me. There's 1,623 candidates standing potentially in a fraudulent election right around the country, and it leaves us all in the same position.
Okay, well, I have to say, you're saying today the 2022 federal election is a fraudulent election. That's a pretty big statement, Darren.
Well, I can only go on the facts, Derek, and no one can give me the writ.
And why do you think that is, Darren? What's your thoughts?
Well, I just don't believe it exists.
You said what? Hold on. No writ exists for Victoria.
Well, the only thing that can change my mind is if the AEC can produce a writ signed, sealed and published in 2 newspapers in accordance with Section 153, the Commonwealth Electoral Act 1918.
Okay, so you're saying it must be printed to give people like you to see it and published in the daily newspapers?
No, I'm not saying that. The 1918 Act says that.
Okay, this is astounding. Everybody listening to this interview, Darren is a candidate and he can't get the information. So, Darren, where does this leave people like me, the voting public? Where are we going to go?
Well, it leaves us all in the same boat, that potentially we're all being led into voting, and the candidates and the people of Australia into voting in a fraudulent election.
And Darren, in your opinion, because you've spoken to a couple of people, you've put your papers in to become a candidate, who do you think is orchestrating this fraudulent election?
Who do you reckon?
Well, everything I read is in purple print, which when you finish with it, you mix blue and red, and you've got the emblem of the AEC on it. It's pretty obvious. It's all conspired by the 2 parties.
Well, that tells you everything, yes.
So, as much as I know about what I'm trying to find out about the AEC, is headed by Thomas Joseph Rogers. You mentioned his name a moment ago. And Nye Coffey is meant to be the Victorian manager for Victoria. And you've got the division returning officer, Harry Papadopoulos, who you spoke to. We found out in the discussions we've had, 1,100 people are working for the AEC at this time. So if you are right, Darren, that there are over 1,100 people, including the people you've spoken to, instigating and perpetuating the greatest fraud in our country's history, where does this leave you today?
Well, I don't know whether they're all actually aware that they're doing it, but it just leaves me as the only candidate, because I'm not a corporation. So I'm claiming the seat of Dunkley as the only one exposing this fraud. The other candidates either do not know or are not up to it or are concealing the fraud. So I'm claiming the Federal Electoral Division of Dunkley. If Harry Papadopoulos, DRO of the AEC for Dunkley, cannot give me the writ, that's his problem, not mine.
So you're 100% certain there's no paperwork, and you are making this extraordinary claim. Let's call it what it is. You've claimed a seat already for Dunkley because there's no writ.
Correct, and the buck stops with them to supply that writ, and the fact that they can't, I'm claiming the seat. Yes.
So, well, Darren, what you're alleging is pretty serious stuff.
Yeah, I know. Yep.
So once again, we just have to make this very, very clear. There is no writ that exists.
Not that they can show me. Correct.
Okay, so the big question a lot of people are going to be asking is, what next? Can this election go ahead?
Well, I'm only playing by the AEC rules, so at this stage, it looks like it is.
Okay, so they're not bothered. They're not going to say they're investigating. They're going to say, no, we don't have the writ. We didn't publish it in the 2 daily newspapers in Victoria, and you've got the feeling that it's going to continue anyway.
Yep, that's what I reckon.
Okay. So from what you've said, the AEC are playing or making up their own rules, and this is just fraud and treason against every Australian voter, because you've just now established if Victoria has got a problem, it affects the whole country.
Yep, 100%.
Okay, so I'm going to say it. This sounds like it needs to go to the Australian Federal Police.
I agree. What do we do now?
Well, that's the most important question for all of us, is that I think urgent notices need to go out to Reece Kershaw, Commissioner of the Australian Federal Police, pursuant to Section 80 of the Criminal Code Act. I want to put it out there that there is a law, that there's a problem. This is a major problem. And it also needs to go to Shane Patton, Commissioner of the Victoria Police, because pursuant to Section 9A of the Crimes Act 1958, you have to report this crime to a police officer. And we've got paperwork ready to go for this, because this is fraud and treason happening here in Victoria that's going to directly affect the federal election. So this information also has to go to IBAC. if you live in Victoria, that's in session right now. That's the Victorian Anti-Corruption Commission, because it's their duty to investigate crimes in the public service and the public interest. So, Darren, this is the biggest public interest issue ever to hit anyone's table, including the Commissioner of the Federal Police, the Commissioner of Victoria Police, and IBAC.
It is. It's a massive thing, and I just can't believe that the press haven't got hold of this already.
So, have you been approached by the press? I mean, I know you're on social media. You've got a few videos you put down. People are talking about it. You've heard nothing.
Everyone's talking about it. I've heard nothing, and I put a video out again this morning, prompting maybe Carl Stefanovic or David Koch to contact me and do an interview and put the story out there to the masses in the country that deserve to know the truth. Okay,
so we need to go and we need to communicate pretty quickly, because it's middle of the week, 3 days out from the federal election. We need to get in touch with Linda Dessau, and we need to find out if she signed and sealed the issue of the writ for the Senate. But let's make our first port of call. What do you think? We have to do that first. So
yeah, I'd love to hear from her directly to see if she's actually issued and signed and sealed the writ for the federal election for the Senate. Yeah,
terrific. So that will also mean, as you mentioned at the beginning, it's up to Tom Rogers to investigate this allegation in Victoria. So, Darren, what I'm saying to you is, if he can't find this writ, he has to call it off, because the election has been voided. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would. But in the meantime, I'm claiming the divisional seat of Dunkley.
Okay, so you're making this claim. Fully appreciate where you're coming from. You've got your recording, you've got your transcript, which you've shown me. You've got it backed up. You have a witness, I believe is your campaign manager. So you have someone who heard you every word.
Yes.
So this has to go to Vic Police, and it's got to go to the Australian Federal Police and to IBAC. So what I'm suggesting now, because there's a lot of things we have to speak about, we should leave it at this point. We've got to get in touch with Linda Dessau's office, and we're going to follow up with you, Darren, so we can update Australians in the next 3 days after we receive a response or not from Linda Dessau. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So anybody listening to this recording, Darren Bergwerf has claimed the seat of Dunkley as an independent who is not a corporation, because he has requested and cannot receive a writ. So he's standing under the Constitution. There is no documentation. He's exposed the fraud. So you've heard it clearly. It's been claimed. This must be the greatest deception upon Australia of deceptive and misleading conduct ever seen. I have never heard anything as dramatic as what you have said, that there's no paperwork for the election. This is deceiving every candidate and elector in Australia. This trumps the US and French elections to be the most fraudulent federal election in history. Now, I need to make sure you understand this. Everybody needs to know this. The day after the federal election on Saturday, Australia is meant to be signing the World Health Organization pandemic treaty. So we need to hear from you how we can help you to get into your polling booth and expose the fraud that there's no election, so the Australian government cannot sign that treaty on Sunday, the 22nd of May. So, Darren, what you've set off is something incredible. So if we can get people to come back to us, and we're going to do another interview tomorrow about your direct interest as a candidate, we need to mobilise people to share this video around, because we're going to do this again tomorrow, to tell the Commissioner, Tom Rogers, this can't go ahead, and they can't sign the WHO treaty on Sunday. Is that okay with you?
Yep, sounds good, Derek.
Okay, so because the Australian Electoral Commission is a corporation, Darren said he's not a corporation. He's an individual, an independent. This has got to go to Joe Longo at ASIC. He is the regulator for corporations. He's got to become involved in this process. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this all together. Darren, I know you're very busy. You've got lots of things to do. You're trying to get out there and get the word out. We're going to be in touch with you by the end of the day about following up this interview tomorrow about the House of Reps writ, which you've got a copy. And what did you say to me about that writ?
The writ that I've got a copy of looks like it's a fraudulent writ that a 10-year-old could have put together. It doesn't have a seal, and the Governor General hasn't signed it. He's only witnessed it. It's been signed by a politician from Western Australia. So to me, it's an illegitimate writ, and that's the one that we downloaded off the AEC website.
Darren, if everybody could hear what you just said now, it's a 10-year-old could have done a better job of this document. We are going to discuss this with you to do this tomorrow. Is that okay with you?
Yep, that's fine.
So you are directly engaged, but you're also engaged as a voter, that there's no writ for the Senate, but your writ as a candidate, you've just said it, is not correct.
Correct.
Okay, no worries. We are going to be in touch with you. We're going to follow this up. And if you're hearing this interview, you've got to make sure you share this widely, because this is affecting everybody in Australia. Darren, thank you very much for your time. I'm going to be in touch with you this afternoon.
No worries, Derek. And every single Australian out there should be devastated to know that we do not have a fair election system in this country. And we're not the free country that we believe we are. So people need to start doing some research and go to the AEC and send them an email and find out what's going on.
Fantastic, Darren. I really appreciate your courage to stand up, and to stand up as a candidate first because of what you believe in, and for the courage to go and expose this fraud. So thank you very much, and we're going to be in touch with you very soon.
No problem. Thanks, Derek.
Thank you very much, Darren. Take care.
Yep, you too.